Greetings! My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Somewhat of the basement is somewhat put back together. What do you think of that? That was the 1.6-inch prop rig with the Treetoppers. I'm spending more time with them. I'm really impressed by them, man. I hit such a brick wall back in the day with testing 802s. I don't know what the motor manufacturer did to these, because these should be identical to the 802, not identical, but super similar to the 802 30,000s and 33,000s that I bell swapped way back when. But they are not. They are more efficient and they are more powerful. I don't know if they've got stronger magnets, better, a more correct gauge on the windings that's that the stator is wrapped with, but yeah, they're the best performing 802s on a 75mm rig that I've ever flown, which is really cool, because 802s on these 75mm motor to motor 1.6-inch prop builds is an awesome combo. It just yeah, one of my favorites is actually there's a lot of Happy Model 802 25,000 kV motors floating around, and they are great. They're old motors. They're only 1mm motor shaft, but you can get them cheap and you can get them all over the place, because Happy Model used to put them in a lot of different quads. And so you can build like a really inexpensive 75mm setup with a rockin' set of motors that's super lightweight. And it's damn good. It doesn't have quite enough power, though, and that's where I went to 27,000s and then 30s and then 33s. And so, yeah, 802s on a 1.6-inch prop build is really cool. My favorite 2S builds is on 802 19,000s that are motor limited down a little bit. So the 802 motor size is enough. It is big enough. It's just you got to get a good one, basically. In the chat, you can FPV was first. McMucus, Papa Perk FPV, Fizz PV, McMucus, Freebird, Andrew Taylor, Uriel, CCAD, Ryan, Frosty, Brent Anderson, Freebird, McMucus. What's up, friends? I'm exhausted. Today was a long day, man. I was up late last night, and then I had to get up at 5:15 to wake little boo up for high school, and then a little after 6 when I went up there and I was like, "Time to go, get your ass out the door." She said, "Okay," and I came back down here, and I got distracted for like 10 minutes. And then I walked, and I hadn't heard the front door. I walked back up there, and she's not at the front door already. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's your first week back at high school. Don't miss the bus. And she's missed the bus a couple times already. She runs out the door, and of course misses the bus. And then so I have to drive her. So, like, I didn't get back here till, like, I don't know, 6:45-ish. The landscaping people... who were going to, who now have graded the land around the house to prevent the flooding back here. They were scheduled to be here at 8:30, so I laid down for about an hour, and they were right on time, of course. So then I had to talk to them, and so now they're swinging shovels and pickaxes and shit all in the front of the house, which is super loud down here. The dog is absolutely going ape shit, so I had to like basically be down here and close the door with him. They were then like they were doing some stuff in the backyard, so every time they would come back there, he would go completely insane. So they got done. I don't know. They got done at like 2, maybe. I fell asleep at some point while they were here, and I told him I was like, yo, just you can text me, but like I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm telling you right now. So just bang on the back door if you need me. It's totally cool. The dog will go crazy. It'll wake me up. It's all good. He was like, okay. And I got, I don't know, maybe like an hour and a half of sleep, and then they banged on the door and they were like, we're done. You want to take a look? Yup. Wobble around out there. Looks awesome. I don't know. It's they did things. This is what they do. So yeah, should be fine. They were able to put the bushes back, the 5 bushes in the front back that they'd originally said they were probably gonna have to just get rid of them. They dug them up, they graded the ground, and then they actually put them back in the ground. They said, you know, you're gonna want to water the shit out of them because they just had quite a shock. But yeah, maybe we won't have to buy 5 big ass bushes for the front of the house, which would be awesome because those are fucking expensive. So yeah, then I finally came back inside and got, I don't know, maybe 3 hours of sleep. So I'm fucking wasted, man. I'm gonna sleep tonight though, which is nice. This will be round 500 trying to fix my my sleep schedule again. So yeah, I'll try to get to sleep at a somewhat human time tonight, and yeah, maybe be all right. Probably not, but you never know. Tonight we are going to. I know I've done this before for those of you that have been around for a while, but there's always new people coming through, and expecting all the new people to go back and watch the old live streams is kind of insane. Tonight we are going to compare 1.2 prop, a 1.2 inch prop build. Jesus Christ on a cracker. With a 1.4 inch prop build with a 1.6 inch prop build inside the house. Outside, unquestionably, 1.6 inch prop is a better choice. But there are some strange people that swear that 75mm rigs are better inside the house. I'll spoil the surprise, they're not. There's just no there's unless you live in a massive house, there's no world where a rig that's significantly heavier is going to be a better idea in a tight, small space with walls and couches and shelving units and shit like that. So yeah, I've spoiled the surprise, but this is more sort of like how viable would a setup like this be. This is, you know, like not the absolute lightest that you could possibly build a 75mm rig, but it's pretty close. You know, we're not going completely bananas, like drilling holes and stuff and like making super drastic lightweight changes. This is just sort of a good combination of off-the-shelf parts that anybody can build, and a setup that you can fly hard and actually like crash a lot and not have to put hours and hours and hours into every single repair because you've spent all this time going nuts with the customizations, right? That is really the biggest reason that I fly as much off-the-shelf stuff as I possibly can, and why I refuse to direct solder motors. I crash a lot, and I crash hard, and I don't want to spend my time fixing these things. I want to spend my time flying them. So, Mobula 7 V4 frame. I wish that I had one of the new Air 75 V2 frames, because that's going to be a little bit lighter and probably better in most every way. What I don't know is if that frame is going to clear this X12 AIO. I have a funny feeling that it's not. And so if you're going to run what, in my opinion, is the absolute best AIO for these more powerful rigs, which is the Happy Model X12, you might be forced to run this Mobile 7 V4 frame, because this is one of the few frames that does clear this AIO. Camera is a Runcam Nano 3, super lightweight. Canopy is a super strong, old school Mobile 6 canopy. That combo I really like because I get the incredible durability of this canopy, but then the canopy is a little bit heavier, as most things that are durable are. But then the camera is ultra lightweight. The camera screws into a piece that sits in the middle of this canopy, so you never have the camera going off axis on yaw or whatever, either this axis or this axis, like a lot of the other mounts, like we struggle with a lot of the other mounts. And then, yeah, the TreeTopper 802 32,500 kV motors with the HQ ultralights. Now that we're flying inside, 100% these HQ ultralights. These are a little bit fragile, so like flying a rig like this outside above trees, for example, is a little bit sketchy. These props will explode on you eventually. They are fragile. They're super lightweight, and with super lightweight comes some fragility. And when these props explode, they explode at the hub, and that makes it pretty much impossible to take it back off. So flying this thing outside, it can be a little bit sketchy. If you stay below the trees, if you stay in front of your house in the street, back behind your house, you're probably fine. But flying this in spots with these propellers that are in undercoverable spots with these propellers is a little bit sketchy. The 3D printer is banging away back here. I've been having a hell of a time with this thing lately, man. I think I'm having an issue with it, with the extruder not gripping the TPU quite enough. The problem that I'm having is that it's starting to string out, like halfway through, like an hour or two in. And previously I thought it was the nozzle clogging, but I've been doing some research, and I'm starting to think that that's not it. It's starting to seem like the problem with these A1 minis have when you run soft TPU on them is that the extruder will lose grip on the TPU, and it won't be able to push it down through the nozzle. And so there's people talking about, like, you know, building a filament stand that's on bearings and shit like that. I use one of these, like, $30... there's also a ton of people, of course, saying that your TPU is soaking wet and you need to dry it. It's interesting. A lot of the people that don't seem to know what they're talking about, that's their solution. The people that it's obvious that they know that they're talking about will then say, I've never dried my TPU in 100,000 prints. You know, slow the speed down, increase the nozzle temperature a little bit. So I've halved all of the speeds on this thing in the Bamboo Labs software, and I've moved the nozzle temperature up either 10 or 15 degrees, and I spent a little bit of time with so it feeds right out of the filament dryer, and the filament dryer does have these nice rollers that are super smooth and on bearings. And I spent a little bit of time with, like, the exit point where the filament comes up and out of the dryer to just smooth there's a hole in this clear plastic, and so I went in there with a file and I smoothed the edges out. So hopefully the print... Here's something that's really funny. Again, one of the things that everybody says is that you got to make sure your filament is super dry. This print that I'm trying to do, this is this goes on the this fits on the inside of the filament, and you put a whole bunch of desiccant in here so that you can here's the other side. So this thing goes like that in the filament, and then you put a bunch of silica in there, and then it keeps the filament dry. So I'm literally trying to print something to keep the filament more dry. I want to print, like, I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. So I want to print 6 of these damn things, one for each of them, and then I can load the insides up with a bunch of desiccant, silica rather. But I can't get the fucking thing to print all the way. It's super weird, man. It prints totally fine for like the first hour, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I don't know. I found a bunch of people having similar problems. I don't know, man. I'm starting to get frustrated. This is why I did not buy a 3D printer. And why, when I won this 3D printer at Rampage last year, I left it in the box for months. This is Sparta. This is what I wanted to avoid. But, alas, here we are. It is really nice to have it. It is really, really, really nice to, yeah, just whip up some prints. And it's cool to be able to put stuff on the Etsy store. For those of you that have ordered 3D prints for me on the Etsy store, I apologize for the delay. Between the flood and me having to move this across the room and not have it plugged in. Yeah, it's been a bit of a nightmare. Project Mockingbird says that the audio is screwed up. I'm assuming that's the 3D printer just wanging away. There's a fan on in the filament dryer, and then the A1 Mini is literally doing a print right now. The majority of the noise that you should be hearing is from the A1 Mini. It's got a big loud fan on it. I'm now like obsessively checking the goddamn thing as if it matters. Like once it starts to string out, it's game over. Oh fuck. But yeah, I'm like obsessively checking it now. It looks really good so far. I also yesterday pulled the whole extruder setup apart and clean that all out. I did something kind of stupid when I was getting frustrated a few days ago with what I thought was nozzle clogs. I went into the manual mode and I turned the nozzle temperature all the way up to 300 Celsius under the thinking, oh, there's a nozzle clog, there's a bunch of TPU in there, let me just really get the nozzle hot, and then I'll manually extrude it. I'll just push the button to extrude down and push all that shit out. What I think I did instead was like boil the TPU, and then like the fumes from the boiled TPU went upwards into some of the extruder mechanism, because when I pulled the extruder apart, it was sticky, man. There was like the whole path of the TPU was really sticky in the same way that like TPU is really sticky sometimes. So I was in there with rubbing alcohol and Q-tips and like, I don't know. So yeah, it's been a couple days. it's been a frustrating couple days with this thing. But I don't know. I've learned a lot. I've read a bunch of, people talking about similar problems and how they fixed it and shit like that. There's also there's a 3D print file of an extruder upgrade specifically for printing soft TPU, TPE soft materials, and it basically like, hold on, there's a picture. Yeah, so the picture here kind of shows the story. Like the original piece here doesn't push hard enough on the TPU to push it into the little extruder grippy wheel, and so his modified one pushes this little roller a little bit farther over to better grab the TPU, and so hopefully that'll work. I've also seen people saying that that to reliably print TPU, you need to have a direct drive machine. I don't even know what that means, but whatever. I'm gonna do well, and so right now I only have TPU, which is why I'm printing these things. These don't need to be printed in TPU. It doesn't really matter. They're just sitting inside of the filament spools. But for this piece, I absolutely need to print this in a harder material, and so I'm gonna have to order something. So I guess it looks like he's got it set up for PETG. So I guess that's what I'll do, is print it in PETG. Unless you guys tell me that I should not buy PETG and I should buy something else, but you know, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, and he printed this thing in PETG, and so I guess I'll follow suit. I've been meaning to buy. The printer came with a little tiny bit of PETG, and I ran through it. I printed a benchy with it right off the rip, and then I printed something else with it, and that was it. And it was all gone, and I've just been, you know, I haven't had anything burning that I've needed to print in PETG. But now I do. I want to print the little poop toilet in PETG that'll hang off the side of the little poop scraper thing, and then I'm gonna print this little thing. So yeah, hopefully this will help. Hopefully I can get it in white too, or like a light gray. But yeah, man, that's what I've been doing. Bamboo Lab. Yo, the Bamboo Lab community forum is awesome. There's lots of good stuff in here. So yeah, pretty slick. Found a this is exactly what's happening. There's a guy with the exact same thing going on. And yeah, the guys that seem to know what they're talking about in here talk about print it at 40 to 50 millimeters per second. Disable. Oh, that's the other thing I did, is I disabled retraction, and then temperatures 235. I don't know what that 235/70 is. I don't know what that 70 was, but yeah, there's a bunch of people talking about you need direct drive. I don't even know what that is, but apparently this machine doesn't have it. Here you go. Another guy, I usually run 230 temperature and run it slow, like 30 MMS. I didn't slow it down quite that much. I just took the I took all of the speeds in the setup. There's like 20 different speeds, right? Like, what speed does it do the infill? What speed does it do the outer layer? All this shit. I just went all the way through all of those speed numbers and just halved them. What I was kind of concerned about is, like, I wanted the ratios to kind of match the same. And so, like, you know, if there's some... If, like... I don't know shit about 3D printing, but like if there's some weird ratio in there with like the acceleration between the infill and the outer layer, I don't want to totally screw that that ratio up. Similar to these things, right? You know, once you get your P to D ratio correct, you want to, or if you have a P to D ratio that you like the look of in your flight footage, changing that ratio is gonna potentially cause issues. Yo, I'm what I keep doing when I'm getting up here. Oh, fucking hell. This is gonna run out. This is the end of the... Oh! You son of a bitch, you. Well, we'll see. Maybe it'll last. That is the end of that filament. God damn it. I'm also printing a little VR headset hook. Get a couple of M4x20 screws, and then this is sized for the pipes on my sim rig. And you just clamp this onto the side, and you've got something to put your VR headset onto. I always just put it on the floor, and it's just kind of ugly. And when I crash the Tiny Whoop over there, sometimes it gets hung up in it. With this, I'll be able to hang the VR headset, and then it'll just be a little bit slicker over there. This is the kind of thing, like, this is just This is a failed print as well, by the way. There's like, you can see, you know, it's super interesting, right? What I've gone down the path of, I'm pretty sure it actually is having trouble extruding the filament, because this print, for example, and it happened on this print as well that I printed on the same bed. There's like, so this is supposed to be rounded, but on these two levels here, it was very, very weak. It was stringing out. And then it's totally fine for a while, and then it's weak. And so I think it's like pulling from the thing, and then it's like getting a little bit jammed, and it can't pull it to push it into the nozzle hard enough. And so like this print, for example, right? There's one more line that you can kind of see in here where it's not the same. And so like if I twist this, I bet you it'll break apart. Ready? Like it's totally fine. There's like a full inch that's, yep, there it goes. There's like a full inch that's totally fine, but then there's these couple layers that are super weak here. And yep, there it is. That did not take much for me to separate those. And so yeah, I'm starting to think that either the filament dryer is not is like creating too much resistance, or the the extruder is just like doing little burnouts in there, and not it's not able to pull the soft to grip, right? The problem is it's not able to grip the soft TPU properly. So yeah. And I mean, I guess that also kind of makes sense, because you turn a print on and you do a quick print and it only has to pull a little bit of the filament. If it's like an 8-hour long print, it's got to sit there for 8 hours pulling the filament. If at some point it gets like weird in there could be a little bit, you know, I don't know. These traction control. So yeah, that's been my life for the last couple of days. It's been a little annoying, but if you want to talk directly to me in the chat, type CiottiFPV. If you want to support me because you like these live streams and want to see them continue, this is a totally crowd-funded thing that I've got going. I need everybody to do a little something. Click thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. The best thing you can possibly do is throw me a couple of dollars, though. CiottiFPV.com has a bunch of different ways you can support me. Patreon is the best. You get the most benefits. You can join for as little as $3 a month. That's only 10 cents a day. For $5 a month, you're going to potentially win $40 or $50 of Tiny Whoop stuff at the beginning of every single month. So if you're on the general admission tier, maybe hop up to the Tiny Whoop tier. You don't have to be on those giveaways. You'll just be entered, and someday a package will arrive with a whole bunch of cool Tiny Whoop stuff at your door. That's worth an extra $2 a month, right? There's other tiers. If you want a chance to win 3-inch parts, there's a $10 a month tier. If you want to win 5-inch parts, which are more expensive and more valuable, there's a $20 a month tier. Support the things that you love, my friends. I lost a friend of mine to suicide a couple of weeks after the election last year. My first ever dance instructor, Wilder, who I saw every single Sunday last year until towards the end of the year, where I started doing dance classes elsewhere, and Wilder's last 2 dance classes, Maggie and I didn't go to. And I will, in a way, never forgive myself for that. That's a bit much. You know, those last 2 dance classes there were barely any people there, and this was Wilder's job. I've since found out from a couple people that the few people that were actually there, that he was really upset that not many people were showing up. And so, yeah, if there's something in this world that you love, support it in any way that you can, because it means, especially if it's a small business. Small businesses, rely on each individual person to help keep them going. And in late stage capitalism here, that's going to become more and more important. So just remember that was a life lesson that I will never forget, and a good one. So yeah. Freebird says, what battery are you using with the Treetop rig? 1S450. I might try I have these really cool little foam inserts. Let me actually dig one out. We'll try a lighter weight battery tonight. Where the hell would I have put them? Unfortunately, you can't get these little guys anymore. But they used to sell or make these little foam guys that would adapt a 450 mAh battery tray to accept a stick battery. And this is what it looks like. It's just custom molded foam. And so, foam doesn't really weigh anything, so it's super lightweight. And yeah, we're gonna drop that on in there and try this thing on a super, super, super lightweight battery. That will, in doing that, anybody that says, "Oh, the reason why your rig there doesn't work inside the house is because it's too heavy." That will silence that completely, because the difference in weight between a 300 and a 450 mAh battery is ridiculous. This, again, as I said, this is not the absolute lightest possible weight 75 millimeter rig that you could build. That is on purpose, because I value durability. And so, yeah. That'll be cool to have that sort of comparison point. What I suspect is going to happen is that this aggressive of a motor paired with a 300 mAh battery, it's going to sag the battery pretty bad. The 450s have enough kind of ass behind them to not have to not have mega battery sag. But we'll try it anyway. Mick Bucas says, thanks Ciotti and Gamehead Ariel, I'm racing the Pickle Rick rig in Sacramento as we speak. Very cool, man. Hell yeah. Matthew W says, FYI, the Discord at everyone ping... Oh, shit balls. Did I just not hit the button? Oh, I just forgot to do it. I put the Patreon post up, and then I forgot to do the... this one. Sorry, friends. Shitballs. There it is. There's that. And then here comes this. Get your batteries on the charger. We're going to fly 6 batteries together, friends. That's our deal tonight. There we go. There's the Discord post. Alright. That's good to go. Hey, look at this edit that I never finished. This is maddening. This is from 2020. This is out in Lake Lanier. Oh no, let me mute this audio. This is out at Lake Lanier. And I was out flying with Patrick and Seneca, and all of a sudden, these guys just showed up. We were out there 5-inching, and these guys were out ripping around on their boat, and this guy was really good at wakeboarding. And yeah, it was just insanely cool to happen to come across these guys. Everybody in the boat was freaking out. They were so excited. They came and found us afterwards. They were like, "Oh my god, you guys are so good with those drones." We're like, "Bro, you're just doing front and back flips and shit." That's insane. And yeah, Patrick finished his edit of this, but apparently I never did. I got a bunch of it done, but not all of it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go back 5 years in time and finish this edit up. This is now this is now just raw flight footage. I have not finished any of this. This was raw dog and 5-inch rigs with no pool noodles over the lake. Kind of sketch. But yeah, the sunset was super sick. This was a very memorable day. Tough to chase these guys, man. The 5-inch rigs. I really wish that we'd had the pool noodles zip tied to them to slow the damn things down. The 5-inch rigs were way too fast for this. As you can see, I'm constantly having to look at, like, by the time I point the camera down enough to frame the subject, I'm going too fast, and then I overshoot them, and then I have to point it down. I remember being kind of frustrated with that. Less camera angle would have been the solution, but you know, we didn't expect to be chasing here. We expected just to go out on the lake and get, like, you know, cinematic flying around shots, which you want to do with the nose down, going as fast as you possibly can. And so, yeah, if we'd ever done this again, we would have been at like 10 degrees up tilt or 20 degrees up tilt to help that out. But yeah, this was pretty rad. I'm gonna do a little quick edit with this, I think. I can't believe I didn't finish that. I got it like 70% done, and then, I don't know, saw something shiny and just stopped working on it. Super, I hate when I do that. It drives me insane. Uriel says Teddy will help with watering. Benny Bravo says, still love these motors. Weebleed is beyond the best. Customer service is something that is often overlooked. With most companies, Weebleed takes care of the customers and the hobby. Yeah, for sure. Zotek we are very lucky to have Zotek in this community. He is a hell of a guy. And yeah, he's been a mega supporter of what I've been having going on for the past few years. So super shout out to him. While I'm sitting here getting caught up on chat, I'm going to start to get this little foam piece put in here. It is a bit fiddly and takes a little bit of faffing to get it going. CiottiFPV says, I tend to crash a lot less outside though, LOL. That's true. That's true. Dave S says, usually those are PLA or PETG, not TPU, or using a TPU profile. Yep, I'm using a TPU profile that Brain 3D actually helped me a little bit to dial in. I dialed it in a little bit with some Madstech stuff when he reviewed this A1 Mini. And it's been amazing. Like, the quality of the prints that I've been able to do have been, like, really good. It's just, if I let it run for, you know, more than like an hour or two, this weird shit starts going on. But yeah, like all these little prints that I've done have been really good. Like it's real clean. No nonsense. And yeah, so it's weird. Here's another little guy. Thanks, Logitech, you giant anuses. Thanks for nothing. This is what it looks like with the little foam guy in there. And then you just put your little 300 mAh battery in the middle. Isn't that cool? I wish they still made these things. Because, like, you can't print these out of TPU because they'll be too heavy. These have to be, you know, custom foam poured or however the hell they make foam. FizzPV says, I'm patient, it's all good. Uriel says, too high temp for TPU? What's that mean? Uriel says, by just observing, I learned a lot. Matthew W. says, A1 is a direct drive printer. Direct drive is where the extruder motor rides around the tooth head. Bowden extruder has the motor stationary, shoving through tube to tool head. Okay, so I do have direct drive. I like that. I like the sound of direct drive. Uriel says, Do you have metal extruding wheels? Can you see slib the feed of PLA? You can tighten the grip. Yeah, one of the guys did talk about there being like a spring on the side of that little lever, and when I was taking it apart and putting it back together, I did notice that. But I just cranked the screw all the way in. I have a funny feeling that new lever that is in orange that I showed you guys, I have a funny feeling that's going to help here. So yeah, we'll see. Just got to get me some PETG. The extruder wheel is metal though. There's the wheel that's actually driven is metal, and it's got these little grooves in it, and on the other side the other wheel is on a bearing, and it's just smooth. And so this different piece is going to push that smooth wheel in a little bit farther, which is going to push the TPU into the little teeth a little bit more. So hopefully, I don't know, we'll see. But as far as I can tell, you know, I had a good run. I got lucky when everything was totally clean and fresh, and I was doing small little short prints, but it certainly feels like this is 3D printing. Like it in the same way that like with FPV, you can buy a bind and fly, and everything is cool for a few weeks or a month, and then as parts start to wear, as you know, you decide that you want it to fly better, it becomes more and more of a pain in the ass. And you have to learn more, and you have to spend more time and shit like that. So I'm assuming that I'm just sort of in that phase with 3D printing. I'm learning a ton. I'm figuring out, now that I'm taking it apart and looking at it and shit, I'm figuring out, like, you know, where the nozzle sits and like where this piece sits and how it feeds through here. And so yeah, I feel like this is a required part of the hobby of 3D printing. Euro says, is the extruder diameter still the same as in software? 0.1 millimeter is a lot, say 0.6, whore out to 0.7. I'm not sure how to answer that. I don't know if the extruder diameter is still the same. I don't know where that is. Mr. Clean FPV says, not being pushy at all. Sent an email about recent Etsy order and haven't heard back. Just wanted to be sure you saw it before making the order. Yeah, the Etsy orders are kind of sort of on hold because of just the basement being torn apart and now the 3D printer problems. But I've got, yeah, they're going to go out. If you guys need to cancel your Etsy orders, I totally understand. I'll do the full refund and whatnot, and I'll probably just end up sending the order anyway. Once I can finally get it done. But yeah, sorry for the delay, guys. Ruloba says, I used Meteor 75 Pro with an 04 printed canopy, and now I don't have Jello but can't do turtle mode. Any canopy suggestions? 1S 75, 1S with 04 is going to have a problem turtle moding because 1S doesn't have a lot of power, and 04 is heavy. Maybe you can get a taller canopy. The taller the canopy, the more of an angle that it'll sit on, and then it has less work to kind of do. But really, in my opinion, for digital, go 2S. Like that's really the answer. You're going to get so much better flight performance, so much better efficiency and runtime. Like everything is better. Truly, everything is better. And it only if you do it right, it'll only gain 1 to 2 grams. So that's the real solution to the problem. The problem you're going to run into is that the taller the canopy, the heavier the canopy. Like since you're on 1S and you're really limited on power, you've got to save weight everywhere. So you've got to try to find a really lightweight, tall canopy, and those two things work in opposition to one another. So that's super tough, man. If it were me, I would snag the Happy Model 04 canopy because it's molded and it's strong and it's lightweight. If you can't turtle mode with this canopy, 1S is just... I mean, I guess you could try going to a higher KV or a more powerful motor. That's going to make it even heavier potentially. But yeah, it's a horsepower problem at that point. Hopefully that makes sense. Project Mockingbird says the AIO5 version 2 frame battery tray is really tight. A 300 fits snug, and you have to jam in a 450. What 300s are you putting in there? Are you just letting a 300 mAh battery just wobble around in there? But it sounds like it maybe doesn't wobble because the battery tray is so tight. The 65 version 2 canopy is pretty tight as well. I have to really jam some of the batteries in here. So yeah, I guess beta FPV is... I don't know. I don't necessarily hate that, though. I would kind of rather have the battery tray be a little bit too tight and the battery not wobble around in there. So, yeah. Uriel says, I didn't tell you about the next thing. In the time you lost Wilder, I lost a friend the same way 2 years before, then another friend from high school same way 2 weeks ago, NR3, all to drugs-related criminality. It's horror over here. Stay gold. Sorry, brother. That's super hard. Super, super, super hard. Mr. Clean says, also been watching a lot of your streams over the past year and a half recently. Curious what you think will be the next big improvement or improved upon in the 65 and 75 millimeter analog whoops. There won't be any more big improvements. We have the last two big improvements that we've had in Tiny Whoops have been lightweight propellers with the HQ ultralights and finally nailing down the right motor sizing. 0702s for 65 millimeter rigs and 0802s for lightweight 75 millimeter rigs, 1002s or sometimes 1102s for the heavier weight 75 millimeter rigs, digital really. And so yeah, like those are the last big improvements that we're gonna see. The AIO65 and AIO75 V2 frames are a little bit of an improvement. What's awesome is they seem to be a legitimate improvement. They're a little bit lighter weight than the Newbie Drone V3, and they seem to be just as strong. They're not a lot lighter. They're like, I think it's like a 0.2 gram weight savings, right? So it's definitely not a big improvement, but it is an improvement. Saving 0.2 grams with a frame that's still durable, that's a good deal. The light AF frame from Newbie Drone is even lighter yet, but it's not as durable. And so there's that definite trade-off there. Maybe we'll see further dialing in of the propellers. I would love it if GemFan were to come out with a prop that's as lightweight as the HQ ultralights, and maybe it's a little bit more durable. But like, when you start to see a situation where like you've got one option that's a little bit heavier and a little bit more durable, and then you have another option that's lighter weight and a little bit more fragile, that is like, that really goes to show you that like you've found that like you're at the point where there's not going to be any big improvements anymore. You know, like for a couple of years, a new frame would come out, like the old school Meteor 65 frame comes out. It was better than every other frame in every way. It was a big improvement. And then the Cockroach V3 frame came out. It was stronger and lighter than every other frame that existed. And it had the ducts drop down, so the prop rode around in there. That was a big improvement. The AIO65 V2 and 75 V2 frames, they're not a big improvement. They're a little bit better than that Cockroach V3, but you know what I'm saying? There's still frames out there that are lighter weight that if you're willing to sacrifice durability, you can get a little bit better flight performance, a little bit more efficiency, a little bit better power to weight ratio, right? And so, and motors are now the same way. We've got like these RC and Power 702 motors that make mega power, but their efficiency sucks. And then you've got like Happy Model motors that are super efficient and make really good power. Happy Model, as well as Weebleed, as well as Tiny Whoop motors. And then we've got some like Newbie Drone and Beta FPV motors that are somewhere sort of in between. There's not a motor that has come out in the last few years that's just better across the board. But 3 or 4 years ago, that was the case. 3 or 4 years ago, like when Tiny Whoop put out the first 702, that motor was better than all the rest. It was like, done. Go with the 702, what were they, 26,000 kV, I think, was the first kV that we got. When Tiny Whoop put out the 702 32,000 kV motor, it was way better. Better than everything else. No reason to not run that motor. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we're going to see that again. Maybe battery technology. That would be my guess. If there's going to be an actual big improvement, it's going to be with battery technology. But I doubt it, man. People have been throwing practically infinite amounts of money at battery technology for the last 15, 20 years. And, you know, we've been flying lipos for a while, right? We've been flying lipos for the last 10 years. And so, yeah. Good question, Mr. Clean. Really good conversation to have around that. Dave S. says, I wonder if it's a heat soak issue with the TPU. If not that, feed tube restriction. Feed tube restriction. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know. Let's check it again. It's looking good. Nope. It's starting to fuck up. I think it's starting to fuck up. Let me pull the pulling the TPU out to make sure there's no tension on it. When I pull on the TPU, man, there's very little tension. Hold on. Let me check it with the flashlight. It looks like it's a little stringy. I think it might be okay. It is absolutely going to run out of filament, though. This is a complete waste of time. But since I'm just troubleshooting right now, I'm going to let it go because I want to see. I want to see what happens. Matthew W. with a $20 super chat. Super generous, man. Thank you very much. He says, first batteries through AIO5 TreeTopper build. Have to back off the sliders because mid-throttle oscillations on 450 mAh. Butter on 550. Interesting. 21.1 grams dry. Any tips? Ideally OSD. Have to probe USB. Removed for... You removed the USB to save weight. That is outrageous. So... here's what's happening there. The weight, when you've got a 450 mAh battery in here, and you're cruising around, let's say to pick up that amount of weight, let's say you're at 38% throttle. You put the and so at whatever that throttle value is, whatever that amount of throttle is, there's some sort of a vibration that's feeding back into the system and feeding into itself. When you put the heavier battery on and you're cruising around, instead of 38% throttle, you're going to be 44% throttle because it's got to pick up the extra weight. And at that higher throttle amount, for whatever reason, the frequency of the vibration has changed, and it's not a frequency that's feeding back. So something is feeding back into the system with the lighter weight batteries. It could be like a frame vibration. It could be a propeller or a motor-based vibration. So throw a set of fresh props at it. Try a different propeller. If you're on the Gemfan 1610 durable props, try these HQ ultralight props. Check your motors to make sure that your motor shafts haven't. It doesn't sound like you've crashed it a bunch yet, but if you have, you might have a motor shaft that's bent a little bit. I doubt it, but it's something to check. And then check the build. Make sure the frame's not broken. Make sure all the screws are tightened up. Always check the mechanical stuff first before you dive into the tune and start screwing around with tuning and whatnot. So yeah, that's your first step, is to check all the mechanical stuff. Make sure the battery is not vibrating around. Make sure that the battery is solid in the battery tray and it's not in there kind of rotating. Because that's what's happening. When you change the weight of a build and all of a sudden these like cruising jello or oscillation problems go away, it's because you're cruising at a higher throttle percentage and you're changing the frequency of the vibration that's happening. And so whenever you have that situation where at one specific throttle amount it goes bananas, something in here is vibrating around just at that specific frequency, right? The battery in the tray, just it gets into a little rhythm and it just starts to, you know, like a trailer that's like somebody driving down the highway with a trailer that's ass heavy, I think it is. It'll start to at 58.5 miles an hour, it'll start to sway and it'll get into this oscillation and this rhythm. You go 59 miles an hour and it stops. You go 57 miles an hour and it's fine, but at 58 it's just at this perfect sort of oscillation. That's what's happening. Uriel says, do you see residue on the extruder? Like what you should wipe after NR2, number 2. Yeah, on the when I pulled it all apart, it was very obvious that the extruder wheel is slipping, and it's and so like the other wheel, so the extruder wheel has the little grooves in it. The other wheel, it had like a layer of TPU from the extruder wheel slipping, from me pushing the button to load the filament over and over and over again when there was a nozzle clog, and then it heating that TPU up and then transferring it to that other wheel, so I cleaned that shit all off and whatnot. But yeah. I'll tell you what, man, the Bamboo software and the application on my phone, being able to pull up the camera and see if the thing is starting to string out, that's pretty slick. That was pretty cool. When I was troubleshooting it 2 nights ago, I guess, I was getting tired, so I just went up and laid down, and I couldn't sleep, but like after an hour, I pulled up the software, I saw that it was starting to fuck up, and I hit stop on my phone, and it stopped the job. That was pretty slick. Uriel says, not every PLA is the same PLA. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bamboo PETG. I've actually heard pretty decent things about the Bamboo filament. Uriel says, I have to change nozzle more than I expected because of wear. I also did change nozzles here. I had the hardened steel nozzle in it. And what I noticed, that they give you a little pin to unclog the nozzle. What I noticed is when I put that pin through, with the nozzle facing correctly, when I would put that pin up through the bottom, it was totally fine. When I would put that long pin down through the top, if I pushed it in just the right direction, it would catch down by the nozzle. So I think basically where the nozzle gets really thin by the tip, I think there's just a little, in one specific spot, there's a little piece of extra metal. And that if I push that pin in there just right, it would hit it and it would get stuck. And so I took that hardened steel nozzle out, I took the stock nozzle, and I did the same thing, and that one was totally smooth, and so that's what's in there now. That didn't improve the behavior at all. I then did this print, and it still did this shit again. So I'm just, one by one, going through and changing things. FizzPV says, absolutely no refund necessary for me. If you want to send the antenna now, it's okay, but you're good, bro. Thank you, man. I'm also waiting on the toner cartridge on my laser printer also ran out. And the goddamn guy that I bought it off on eBay just sent me a message that the toner cartridge is leaking and it's all over the place, and he's refunding my eBay order. So I have to now order another toner cartridge for this goddamn laser printer to be able to print the shipping labels again. So everything's a mess right now, but it'll be better soon, man. They're coming Monday to do the gutters, so the flooding issues should be totally fixed. I will order another LaserJet toner cartridge. At some point, I'll get this fucking 3D printer figured out. FizzPV says, the mount is just so I don't have to swap the one I have between the Cinelog and the 4-inch. Gotcha. You Can FPV says, did you see the Dolly Fly 16 by Sub 250? Never heard of it. Let's take a look. Oh, look at that thing. Okay, that is the worst thing you could possibly do on your website, as is that. Wow. Assholes. This is pretty slick. Running the battery in the back here, and then the air unit up front. This is what Speedy Bee is doing with their setups, but they're taking it a level further, and they're making this whole front part here detachable, so you can take your 04 air unit off of one rig and put it onto another one, which I think is really cool. This is another one of these rigs that, like, you know, they call it a Cinewoop, but, like, I don't know. My definition of Cinewoop is a little bit different. This has practically no actual prop protection. And so this is not going to fly like a Cinewoop at all. This is going to fly like an open prop rig. And if you hit somebody with this, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And so, yeah, this is not a Cinewoop to me, but hey, I don't make the rules here. I don't totally understand builds like this for anyone other than, like, me and the guys that fly stadium events, concerts and shit. This is not something that you can fly slowly. This is not something that you can fly accurately. And then so you got to fly it outside in bigger open spaces, in which case there's no reason to have these guards. This is going to break every single time you crash it. And so I don't understand these builds at all for anyone, for any scenarios other than very, very, very specific ones. This would actually probably be pretty cool for me for live broadcast stuff, where I'm chasing these cyclists at 30, 40 miles an hour. That's what this would do really well. Nobody else is doing that, right? Like, there's 50 people on Earth that are doing that. And so for every other FPV pilot, in my opinion, this doesn't make any sense. This kind of setup with no prop protection whatsoever, right? Because you really kind of can't fly it around people. It's not strong. That prop guard is going to break every single time you crash it, so you can't fly it hard freestyle. It's too fast for like proper cinematic slow, right? Like you can't fly it fast because it's going to break. You can't fly it slow because it doesn't have proper prop guards to slow it down. And so it's like, what do you do? Like, do any of you guys have builds that are like this that you fly anymore? Like, every single person I've ever talked to that buys a build like this, they fly it like 4 or 5 times, and then it just sits on their shelf forever, and they never fly it again. You guys tell me. I know some of you have similar builds to this. Have you found a scenario where they make any sense to fly? Or do you just fly it because you spent a bunch of money on it? That would be me. But yeah, if you're going to start doing live broadcast gigs chasing cyclists, this is actually kind of cool. This is actually not a terrible idea. Honest review. Whenever it says honest review, get ready for not an honest review. Oh, look! Nick Burns, look at you. Hold on. When is this from? Stop it! Whoa! 1 year ago. Oh my god. Oh wow, it's. Oh, okay, yeah, no, it's. Oh wait, if it's a year ago, then this is an 03 build. But I guess now they yeah, so that's the 03 version of it. That's I can tell that's a smaller camera lens. Oh, it is 03. It is an 03 rig. Ah, okay. I was thinking it was an 04 build. I mean, whatever. 1404 motor, that's a good choice. It's probably pretty good, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. This is not the same rig. This is a totally different build. Why do they have this linked on the product in the product description? Yeah, I don't know. I can't recommend builds like this. It just it doesn't make any sense to me. I can never figure out where it makes any sense. For me, the biggest problem is you can't. What the hell is this? The biggest problem is that you can't fly it around people, and the whole point of a prop guarded rig is to fly it around people or things. If you're not going to be doing that, don't run the prop guards. They just add weight. They're a pain in the ass when they break, and they make it fly worse. So, yeah, weird. Project Mockingbird says, when you run the 300s, do a punch out for RPM to compare to your 450. Oh, yeah. I had a fresh lava 300 and 450, and the 300s were 38,000. The 450 was 42,000. Oh, my God. Yeah, we'll do that upstairs for sure, across the room, that little run. 38 versus 42. That's a huge change. That's what I assumed would kind of happen. YouTube just did the thing and scrolled me to the bottom. Cole Powers says, Veritasium did an excellent video on lithium battery development. I just started watching that last night, actually. I put it on for a minute, and then something happened, and I turned it back off. So it's in my history. I'm going to watch the rest of it. If you guys aren't subscribed to Veritasium on here on YouTube, you are missing out. Veritasium. I think I spelled that wrong, but it's pretty close. It'll find it if you come close to the spelling. It's a hugely popular channel. Uriel says, they say I'm crazy, but from everybody close to me that dies, give me later regrets in head and nature. There's life after death. Its deepest thought. There's taking care of the died. I'm a real believer because of experience. I love it. BMF Spade says, need to try those VCI 0702s. Already did. I would like to see what you think about them. They're very similar to the Newbie Drone 702s and the Beta FPV 702s. They're somewhere in between. They're not as power hungry as the RC and Powers. They don't make as much power as the RC and Powers. They're not as efficient as the Happy Model motors. They're okay. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not groundbreaking. Betty Bravo says, is there any way you could simplify what battery sag is and what the Dynamin battery sag does? So battery sag is just when you ask for a bunch of voltage power from the amps from the battery, it sags. You go full throttle, the ESC pulls really hard on the battery. The voltage of the battery goes from 4 volts where it was when you were cruising all the way down to 3.6 volts, 3.5 volts. When that happens, there's less voltage getting to the motors. The motors make less power. A higher milliamp battery always kind of sags less. The higher the milliamp the battery, the deeper the deeper that battery's pockets are, like the bigger the gas tank is. And so one of the ways to improve on battery sag is to literally just go up to a battery that's a higher milliamp. Another way is to go to a better battery, a battery that's a higher C rating, but the C ratings are all absolute nonsense, so you can't really tell unless you're in the same brand. Like if you're looking at two GNB batteries, two GNB 300 mAh batteries, and one of them is 100C and the other one is 80C, always get the 100C battery. But if you're comparing a Tattoo battery to a GNB battery, you can't. The C ratings are all over the shop. Checking it again. Shit. It's starting to go. I think it's starting to string out. Nah, maybe not. Hold on. Let me take a closer look. I think it might be failing, to be honest. I'm gonna get hit in the face. Don't hit me in the face, please. Oh, God. It moves so fast. I can't use this. The focal distance on this is too short. Hold on. Let me try the nerd goggles. No, it's doing all right. It's still going. Man, I wonder if that filament's going to run out, though. Oh, you know, the other thing I want to look at is, are there any layers that are different? Yeah, there is. God damn it, dude. There's like one layer. It looks like maybe like 10 layers ago, there was a layer that looks different than the rest. It looks like more open, and that's when I think it was stringing out a little bit. We're in it now. We are in it now. Matthew W. says, good tips, thanks. I figured it was an unlucky Tacoma Narrows Bridge kind of situation. Yeah. That's the bridge that they spent all this money on, and they didn't test its they didn't test it in the wind, and in a crosswind it would oscillate and it ripped itself apart as soon as they opened the bridge up. Dave S says heat creep / soak would cause the TPU to soften above the extruder, I believe. Why would it then? Why would that go away? Oh man, it's all weird. Oh, the other part of Benny Bravo's question is, I think, asking in Betaflight what the sag prevention in the PID tab does. Basically, what that does is it doesn't give you full power at the beginning of the battery, but then it gives you full power at the end of the battery. So it like artificially pulls the top amount of power down, and then it gradually rises up as the battery voltage goes. As the timer goes up, it gives you more and more power. So the battery sag at the end of the battery's life doesn't seem as bad because it was kind of throttling you at the beginning of the battery. Where are we at here? Euro says maybe you tighten it too much. Cutting PLA in parts by extruder is AUCH2. Betty Bravo says, made a stupid mistake and bent a motor plug pin on my Hummingbird V4. Didn't realize it ran a battery, then bent back. Now only getting 32,000 RPM. And the idea is 60,000 plus in the other 4 motors, TreeToppers. I guess when you bend it back straight, it's not as long. Look, no Band-Aid. I'm letting it get some air. I will not show you what it looks like because it's pretty gross. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. That's tough, dude. Once you bend those pins in the JST plugs, they're never the same again. But it sounds like the pin is just not as long anymore, so you need to get that. You know what I think you need to do is direct solder the motors. I think that's the right solution for you. But try to work with that pin to figure it out first. Might as well. Euro says, think grasshopper about 3D printing. They're pushing a rope. Grasshopper. License to Drive says, I bought a hardened steel nozzle for my Prusa so I can print glow-in-the-dark PLA. The glow particles grind brass nozzles. It's insane. Calvin Knudsen is in the chat. He says something, but YouTube didn't want me to rush it. Read it. I'm tired, man. Kelvin says, I have a Pusher Cine-style drone that I never fly. There you go. Cole Power says, what's the KV on that 2.5-inch rig? That's a good question. Sub 250 1404. Thanks a lot. Let's do a search for KV. Nothing. Great. There's another reason not to buy it. They don't tell you what the KV of the motors are. And that's just the dumbest thing ever. Stu. I guess what we can maybe do is look up the 1404 motors here on their website. 1304, 1804, 1804. Look at that. That's pretty cool. 1404, 4500 kV. There you go. So that's a good kV. That's a good motor. Probably. I tried a set of sub 250 0803s, and they did not perform well at all. So I don't know about sub 250 motors, but 803 is a tough motor size. It's a little too tall. Yeah, there you go. FizzPV says the Synolog 20 is a decent choice. For what? You know, like any nowadays, every single build has like a specific kind of use. This Synolog 20, this is going to be pretty tough. So, like, for carrying a naked GoPro, this is absolutely as small as you can go. But this is going to be incredibly inefficient, incredibly noisy, and it's probably not going to fly all that good because it's just, this is too small of a propeller. This, to me, is like it's one of these, like, look how small I made it. I never fly it because it flies like shit, but look how small I made it. You know what I'm saying? A 2.5-inch rig is going to be barely any bigger than this, way more efficient, way quieter, with way better flight characteristics. And so, yeah, this is kind of a tough sell. If you were to buy this, what you would really want to do is take these prop guards off. This thing without these prop guards would be way, way, way better. These prop guards are going to block a shitload of the thrust, and they're going to make this incredibly inefficient. So yeah, the only way that I would possibly fly this rig would be to remove these guards. And at that point, like, what are you really doing? Same kind of deal. Buy a 2.5-inch rig. It's only, or a 3-inch build. It's only a little bit bigger, and the flight characteristics are going to be 1,000 times better. So yeah, this is tough. This is super tough. I don't know who this would possibly be for. If there's some weird weight restriction, like I think Japan has a 100-gram weight restriction, that would be the only reason to try to go all the way down to a 2-inch kind of setup here. But yeah, this is pretty tough. This is, you know, a marketing heavy rig. You know, we built the smallest and lightest weight naked GoPro carrying build. You want small and lightweight, right? Buy this now. But then you fly it and you want to pull your fingernails out. Frank Nicholas says the audio problem sounds like a compressor. The hiss/background noise gets louder as you speak. louder or strongly. That's weird. That shouldn't be. There was a problem in in OBS a long time ago with the audio. How the hell did I fix it? Remember when we had that weird like robot audio problem? We're going like a couple years back now. I don't remember how I fixed it. It is starting to glitch out on me a little bit here, which means that either Canon webcam utility or YouTube are going to shit the bed soon. Let me actually just refresh YouTube and close the chat and then reopen the chat, and that might make it a little bit better. Pop out chat. Okay, so that, if YouTube was the problem, it'll be a little bit better now. If Canon webcam utility is the problem, it won't be any better now. Looks like it's a little bit better already. Kelvin says, I can also hear the hissing noise Frank Nicholas is talking about. Cole Powers says, harmonic resonance in reference to the oscillations. Yep, that we were talking about a minute ago. Frank says, when I said compressor, I meant audio compressor, gain adjustment, etc. There might be some sort of compression built into this fancy microphone that I'm poking right now. Oh wow, yeah, look at that noise floor with the 3D printer on. But I don't have any compression turned on in OBS. I don't like the way that it. I just don't like the way that it sounds with the compression on. But yeah, there's that. And I'm tired, Jesus. Benny Bravo says, already tried that direct solder, same result. Well, then one of those motors is bad. See if Zotac will sell you one replacement motor. Yeah, if you direct solder those motors, and one of them is still cranking a third the RPM, that motor's shot. Or that ESC channel is shot. That could be that as well. So you're going to take two of the motors and you're going to reverse them, and you're going to see if that problem moves with the motor or stays on that ESC channel. That's how you differentiate if the problem is the ESC, the AIO, or the motor. Calvin says, the audio issue sounds like an audio envelope is too low and the high pass filter is not set right. Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff set up, so it shouldn't be any of those things. Let me just double check that though. Properties, device default, enable down mixing is turned on. I'm not really sure what that means, but so that was properties. What about filters? I'll be damned. There is a little bit of a gate on here. All right, so there's a. I was wrong. Did I turn these back on? There's a noise gate and a compressor and a limiter. I'm going to turn all three of them off. Noise gate, compressor, limiter. They are all now turned off. In theory, that will just, that's what it'll be. I'm going to leave this open for a minute. You guys let me know if it's any better, and then I'll potentially turn those back on. I'm assuming it's folks that are wearing like headphones. All right, 1.2 versus 1.4 versus 1.6. Away we go. Transmitter on. First, I messed this up. We're gonna fly the rig with the TreeToppers first. I should have. Okay. Frank says after turning off all three, the background noise is constant, like maybe a fan. It is not following the volume of your voice. That makes sense. Yeah, that's the. I guess that's because I turned the compressor off. Here, I'll turn the compressor back on, and that behavior should change. Allfaxis says I hear a fan now. Look at that. Oh, you know what? I can tell by the noise floor. Hold on. Here, I'll show you guys. What a difference. So it's the gate. The gate is pulling the is trying to get rid of the fan noise, basically. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like what, I don't know, man. I don't really like the, I probably don't have them set quite right. Remy Tim helped me set him, and he's an audio engineer, so like he knows what he's doing, but he was trying to like help me through, like it was, yeah, it was weird. But I typically don't like the way that really heavy compressors, limiters, gates sound. They sound like unnatural to me. But yeah, so that's, I've just got the gate turned off now. Do you guys like that better? I don't listen to these live streams, so I don't give a shit what it sounds like. If you guys like the way it sounds with this noise gate turned off, then I'm never turning it back on. If you like the way it sounds with the compressor off, I don't care. You know what I mean? Whatever you guys want, I'll do. So here, I'll leave it with the gate turned off for a little bit here, and then I'll turn the compressor off too, and yeah, you guys let me know. All right, we be flying. Tree topper rig with a tiny little 300 mAh battery. Frank says the gate makes the noise come and go, and that is sometimes bothersome. Gate off and the noise is low and constant. Doesn't bother me as much. I wonder if I try not to run the 3D printer while live streaming. I wonder if this is just a thing because that's running, and that makes me wonder if when the 3D printer is not running, it'll be better with the noise gate turned on. But I'll leave it off for a little bit, and we'll see what's what. So yeah, tree topper build. This is basically just a Mobula 7 1S ELRS. Same frame, same camera, same canopy. X12 AIO, BT 2.0, and then the tree toppers. And we're gonna run this on a little 300 mAh battery. See how that does. Grab one of these lavas. I think they're a little bit more fresh than the rest. Give it every chance that we possibly can to not battery sag like hell. Yeah, so this little foam thing is in here, and then you just sneak your little 300 mAh battery through the foamy. And now you got a 300 in there. I'm going to wear the Fat Sharks, because they're 1,000 times more comfortable, and I don't really need to DVR this. All right, people, here we go. 1.6-inch rig with a lightweight battery inside the house. Let's see how silly this is. Come on, ELRS. There it is. All right, here we go. Wow, it feels light with this little battery. Look at the hover point. The hover point's down at like 25. That's too low, actually. I don't like when the hover point's down that low. Let me that was not planned, I swear. Let me turn off the throttle expo, because it is certainly going to be... Well, it's only on 20, so it's actually not too bad. All right, freshly charged battery. Let's do a full throttle hit. 47,588. Very similar to what Project Mockingbird said with this same exact setup. I think he said 48,000. Feels light, man. But the problem is going to be it's heavy. And it's heavy for a 300 mAh battery, I should say. and it's probably going to get shit runtime. But we'll see. You never know. Ah! I thought I could just sneak past the fan. Oh god, that was ugly. Here's what I was trying to do. That's what I was trying to do. Kind of cool looking. Ah! Oh boy. Bunch of up tilt too. Yeah, it feels too light for the amount of power. Ah! Kind of fun though. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to angle it out. Should be alright now. Yep, there we go. If you kind of rock it, if it gets side of the frame stuck under the couch, or stuck under anything, I should have let it fall. You just try to rock it out of there. So, yeah, see. So, it's a lot heavier than a 65mm build, so it's going to carry the momentum more. And that really makes it tough to fly in tight spaces. See, I have to really lose the horizon. See, it's just heavy for inside. Bigger props, bigger frame are for flying outside. I can still do stuff, but like, see it slap against that wall? Like it just, the momentum, it just wants to keep carrying its momentum. And now I'm hitting the ceiling because I'm trying to dig it in to deal with all the extra weight and momentum that it's carrying. Runtime ain't bad, though. I'm actually really surprised. These motors seem to be really efficient. These TreeTopper motors are extremely efficient, which is great. Again, that's why I think that the motor manufacturer really nailed the thickness of the windings. I think the winding is perfectly optimized for this. I also had no low battery warnings, so I over-discharged the living shit out of this battery. So we got to 3 minutes and 7 seconds, but look how low the battery is. That's alarming. Let me plug this in and get the low battery warnings turned on. I don't understand why they're not working, but I gotta get this battery right on the charger. So, like, if I had not completely annihilated that battery's face, it would not have gotten more than, like, probably 2 minutes and 40 seconds of runtime, which is, you know, a little bit less, but not the end of the world. So the noise gate has been turned off. Now I'm going to turn the compressor off. Ready? Compressor is now turned off. Let me know if that's better or worse. Let's get plugged in here. I kind of don't need to put the 450 mAh battery on here, to be honest. It's not... Well, it'll weight it down a little bit so that it's not so sort of obnoxiously heavy. But it's just, you know, the all-up weight of this rig is more. More than what we want to be flying inside the house. Even with a tiny little battery. A big old clump of hair in here. Let me just get this cleared out. Oh my god. And it's blue hair, so it's Florence again. Okay. Good to go. Yeah, you know, 802s are significantly heavier than 702s. A frame that's going to swing 1.6-inch props is going to be significantly heavier than one that's going to swing 1.2-inch props, right? It's just like each step, you're adding weight with something like this, which if you're going to fly it outside, doesn't really matter nearly as much, and you almost kind of want that so that when the wind hits it, it doesn't blow it away. But inside, weight is just so important, man. It's such a game changer to get a rig that's like 17, 18 grams dry, even 16 grams, it makes such a difference in your ability to change directions in the house and not just like ping pong around the room. It literally makes it easier to fly inside the house. And flying inside the house is unbelievably difficult. So you got to do every little thing that you possibly can to make it easier for yourself. What am I looking for? Let's just make sure that the warnings are even turned on in the OSD. They are. And so what that means is that they're set too low. Oh my god. They're set down at 3 volts and 3.2 volts. What the hell? Why? 3.4 and 3.3. Not 33.3. Just 3.3. I think that's where I normally set them. Man, I had those really low. That was stupid. Alright. So now I'll have low battery warnings, which is great. Now we're going to fly it with a 450. This is realistically the battery that you would want to fly these motors on. These motors are pretty hungry. You're going to see in a second we're going to get a bunch more RPM when I fly upstairs and rip it across the room. Watch this. So we were at almost 38,000, I think it was, on the little 300 mAh battery. And so now we're going to do it on the 450, and now it's even heavier. Jesus. That outward momentum is just wild. All right, ready? Here we go. And so, I mean, I can already tell. It's so funny. It's a lot heavier, but it makes so much more power that... Oh, boy, I can't get it to settle down. Oh, wow. No, not much extra. 48,900. I bet you if we put it outside and left it full throttle for more than like this little like what 15-foot distance, I bet you we would see more of a difference there. So, fuck. Uh-oh. Oh, we're good. Whew. Okay. Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. See, this is tough. This is like a big room, but still, I'm trying to do stuff that's like laid out, and it's hard to do it. I've flown a lot of, back in the day when I was trying to figure this shit out, I flew a lot of 75mm stuff in this house, so I got like somewhat okay at dealing with the extra weight. How you like me now? That was pretty fucking sick. Oh god. See, so again, even though it has extra thrust, the extra weight, I couldn't get the damn thing to change directions quick enough to go through the gap. It's just the extra weight slows down the response time, and inside the house response time is god damn it. Inside the house, response time is incredibly important. If you want worse response time, if you want more smoothness out of your flight footage, you can do that in the same way that I do it in the software. To fly a bigger, heavier rig inside the house just to smooth out the flight footage is kind of silly. That's kind of like what's an analogy for that? I'm trying to think of a car-based analogy for that. Oh my god. That's like putting a V8 into a car and then putting like a restrictor plate on it so that it doesn't make any more power than the 4-cylinder that it had in it at first. That's not a great analogy. 3D printer's making weird noises. I think it might be fucked up. I bet you if this was an 04 rig, I'd be able to tell. Let me out! Not getting much more runtime out of this with this big ass oh yes I am. Oh no! Oh yes! Yeah, this is not enjoyable to fly inside. I'm very spoiled by some pretty amazing 65mm 1.2 inch prop rigs, right? But that's why you guys come here, right? I can still do stuff, but I'm just having to work a lot harder. And I'm, it's just more of this, you know, just more clumsily bouncing off the walls because it's so fucking heavy. This is not what this rig is meant for. Now we got some low battery warnings. Awesome. We did get a bunch more runtime. It ran a lot towards the end of the battery here, 4 minutes and 9 seconds. Weirdly, I got 5 minutes outside at one point on this exact same battery. Flying outside, though, I'm using a lot less full throttle. I'm doing a lot more kind of cruising around. In here, I'm like constantly moving the throttle up and down. These propellers are bigger and heavier, so accelerating and decelerating these propellers is going to use a bunch more juice. So that doesn't totally surprise me. This is no more flyable inside the house than any other 1.6 inch build that I've ever done. These motors are better outside because they make more power. We don't need that power inside. We need less weight to make this better inside. And so now we're going to go sort of the complete opposite. I'm going to check this 3D printer real quick first. But now we're going to go the ass opposite direction with a 1.4 inch build that's really lightweight. Lighter weight than normal. And so now we're going to have relatively big propellers, but really, really, really low weight. So this will be similar to this guy with the little 300 mAh battery. Hang on. This actually has too much power for flying in the house, to be completely honest. Unless you got a massive building to fly in. Let me take a quick look here. You still going, little buddy? Or it's starting to look a little ugly. It's hard to tell, though. That might be all right. Now, I'm kind of like looking at where the filament is coming out here, and it looks like it's doing fine. It's pulling it. I can see it. The little reel is moving. There it goes. The reel just rotated a little bit. There it just rotated a little bit more. A little bit more. There's not like a lot of tension on the line. Not the line, on the filament. Ooh, that was a little bit harder to pull, though. That was weird. Interesting. No, it doesn't look great. This is a really intricate print. Maybe this is just not, I mean, you're not supposed to print these in TPU, and maybe this is why. It's a really fine print. It's got these little tiny holes, these little vent holes. This is ugly. Oh, yeah, no, it's fucked up. I can see literally a big gap. Oh, yeah, it's gonna fail. It's just, yeah, it's just not extruding. Because like a nozzle would a nozzle clog wouldn't go away, right? Like if the nozzle clogs, it's clogged and that's the end of it, right? Like this problem comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes, and so that I feel like that eliminates the possibility of it being a nozzle clog, right? interesting, learning how to troubleshoot 3D printers. This causes this, that causes that. I'm sure there's lots of smart guys out there that are really good at troubleshooting, as good at troubleshooting 3D printers as I am at troubleshooting quads. I just dropped all the batteries on the floor. Yeah, the when I say it's an intricate print, this is what I mean. So it's there are these tiny little slots in here. Well, you can probably see it on the bottom a little bit better. So there's all these tiny little, it's making like little figure eights there so that there's airflow. There, you can really see it, right? And so it's like, it's pretty intricate, so when it stops extruding or whatever, it gets really ugly really fast. This looks like it's extruding totally fine, and then it just all goes to hell. You can like really, so this is the bottom of it. This is the base, which looks really nice. You know, it's totally fine here. But then like there'll just be a point, and you can kind of see it in this print. All right, let's see. So like halfway through this print, there's a defined line where I believe it's starting to see it there. See it in the middle? That's where I think it's struggling. That's what it's doing right now. Like 15, 20 layers ago, it had one of these ugly layers. See, there's another one there too. Ugly layer here, ugly layer there. So I think that is it not pushing the fucking filament down through. And I feel like if that was a clog, it would stay clogged. Right? Maybe? Alright. More flying. Less 3D printing. More quadding. This is a Mobula 6 2024 in a Meteor 65 Pro frame with the HQ tri-blade propellers. 1.4 inch HQ tri-blade propellers. And then these are 0702 32,000 kV motors from Weebleed. This is my favorite of the 1.4 inch combos. What you're going to notice is it's kind of slow. It's a big build that's really lightweight. It's lightweight enough that it changes direction really nicely inside the house. And so like this represents, in my opinion, the right mix of going as big as you possibly can on the propellers for inside the house, where you can still keep the weight down. See it change direction there? Look at that direction change. And kind of notice that it's just sort of slower, more floaty. That's what I love about these 1.4 inch builds. These builds are not great for super technical tricks, like the double power loop, which I still haven't hit. I will not be able to hit it with this rig. What if I did just now? I had to throw a huge correction in there. I'll try it a couple times and show you. It's not quick enough, weirdly. Like, it's a little too lazy and a little too slow. So it doesn't quite have the... power to weight ratio. The other thing that we're seeing here is that these tri-blade propellers are a little heavy for these 702s. What? Stop. Dude, fucking stop! Why? Oh, it threw a propeller. Hey! Oh, it broke a propeller. Yeah, there you go. HQ ultralights, baby. Teddy, don't try to eat it. This is what happens to these HQ ultralights. They just break at the hub. Yeah, they fly really good, but they are fragile. This is probably the 20th HQ ultralight that has failed in that same way. It's just kind of what they do. This is the price that we pay for extreme levels of performance, basically. Not a whole hell of a lot you can do about that. I do hope that they come out with another version of this propeller, a newer version of this propeller at some point that has a thicker hub that's a little bit heavier weight. I would certainly be willing to sacrifice a little bit of performance for durability. That ain't the right propeller. But it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's annoying, but it's not that bad. Where the hell are the 1.4 inch props? Here they are. 1mm motor shaft, 1.5. There we go. This is a high left propeller. And so one of the only ways that you can help this situation is to make sure that you drill your propellers out before you put them on. The tighter, the hub is fragile, and so if the hub is tight on the motor shaft is always going to be trying to do this to the hub. So make sure that you snag yourself a set of drill bits, 0.99 and 1.46, and you're going to take your propellers before you put them on, and you're just going to run them up and down these drill bits to remove a little bit of material from the inside so that they don't fit so tight on the hubs. That's going to help a little bit, but it doesn't help much, if I'm completely honest. But it does help a little bit. All right, so the compressor has been off. Now I'm going to turn the limiter off, see if you guys can tell a difference. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Limiter is now off. So the noise gate is off, the compressor is off, and the limiter is off. I'm going to turn those on one by one, and you guys can see if you can tell a difference. All right, so there we go. I removed a little bit of material from this. We're going to throw it on here and fly the rest of this battery. I cannot believe it's 9 o'clock already. You guys had some really good questions tonight. We had some great little conversations about this stuff. If you're pushing a propeller on, you have to push really, really hard. If that's a propeller with a weak hub, you're going to have a bad time. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of like the end-all, be-all of that. If you're going to fly the HQ ultralights, make sure you never, ever, ever push them really hard onto the motor shaft, because that's going to pre-stress the hub, and then that hub's not going to last all that long. Try to be more sensitive to the amount of hair that's clogged up in these motors lately. I feel like it doesn't have much of an effect, but when I'm trying to test stuff, I feel like any little thing like that I want to pay attention to. Let's fly the rest of this battery. So again, lightweight, 1.4 inch prop. I'm going to turn the noise gate back on. Noise gate is back on. Compressor and limiter are turned off. Oh, Teddy, I didn't know you were there, buddy. Almost got him. So because the propeller is a little bit heavier on a little tiny 0702 motor, what you lose is response time. What you gain is float. Look at all that float. So it's kind of interesting. Like you have to get back on the throttle earlier, because it's not going to spin the propeller up as quick. I can literally see the hair that I'm about to tangle in the motors. So like when you throw it, you've got more time in the air, but then you have to get on the battery a little bit earlier because it's not going to spin up as quickly. These 1.4-inch builds are a really fun setup. The frame is only the tiniest little bit heavier. The propellers are only the tiniest little bit heavier. And so this is the best combination of as big as you can get, but still not too heavy for kind of flying indoors, in my opinion. Last but not least is good old 65 millimeter motor to motor, 1.2-inch prop rig. And now I'm going to turn the compressor on. So the noise gate is on, the compressor is now on, but the limiter is off. And then after a couple minutes, I'll turn the limiter back on. And you guys can pick which ones do I leave on, which ones do I turn off. I don't watch my own streams, so I don't care. I sometimes do. Not often, though. So this is another Mobula 6 2024. It is in an Air 65 version 2 frame with 0702 40,000 kV motors. Makes sense to go with the higher kV motor with the smaller propellers. These are 1.2 by 0.9 by 3 HQ ultralight props. And so now the weight has come down another chunk. The frame is lighter. The propellers are lighter. The response time is back. So it's, I mean, that's fairly obvious, even on a dead battery, right? Like, it's super snappy. It's super reactive. You don't have as much float, but you can wait longer before you blip the throttle to spin the motors up because the motors spin up quicker. So it's a very all three of these are very different flight experiences. Basically, the 1.6-inch rig just feels like it has too much power and it's too heavy. It just feels like you're driving a 65 Mustang at like a gymkhana or like at an autocross. It's just kind of too much. The 1.4-inch rig is nice and floaty. I miss the response time, but in order to get that back, you would have to go to a bigger motor, and then that would make the whole thing heavier, and that would kind of defeat the purpose. And then this is just the fucking scalpel, man. Like, these really optimized 1.2-inch rigs are good to crash into the fireplace with. No, they just have such incredible response time. They feel completely locked in. If you've ever had like a build where the PID tune was perfect and it felt like it read your mind, this is that. Hey, ooh, that was a hard hit. Wow, still bouncing. And so for the ultimate sort of indoor rig, you're looking at it. Oh my god, I just slammed it into the wall. This is still the king. This is still the daddy. Where'd you go, little guy? There you are. Oh. This has a Runcam Nano 3 and an old school Mobula 6 canopy, which is a little heavier. Now I'm going to turn the limiter back on. The limiter is now back on. So you guys pick. What should I run? Noise gate, compressor, limiter, all three, just two. Compressor, and I think what I should do, what it sounds like you guys like the best, is the compressor and the limiter with the noise gate turned off. And that is this. I've just done that. The noise gate is now off, the compressor is on, the limiter is on. I think that's what you guys like the best. But let me know. You're the ones that have to listen to me. So you get to pick. Woo! No! Almost. Ah! That Matty flip up through the top and then down through the cube is one of my favorite things. It is hard, though. Getting the timing right. There it is. Hey, relax. Yeah, I hope you guys can see the difference between these three, because, like, it's somewhat obvious when I'm flying them, and I try my best to talk through it. But yeah, I never know if it kind of comes through on the video. I try to do movements that maybe show it more than others. They're all very fun. I think the 1.4-inch build is the most fun, because it just that extra float and like the little bit of slowness helps with how nuts it is to fly inside of a building. The problem with the 1.4-inch build, though, is that when I want to do the ultimate double power loop, I just can't. It doesn't have the response time for that. And that's where the good old 1.2-inch build, it just rules. So yeah, really interesting comparison. The TreeToppers are awesome, but they don't change the game in terms of flying inside the house. The extra weight of an 802 versus a 702, a 1.6-inch prop versus a 1.4 or a 1.2, the 75 millimeter motor-to-motor frame versus a 65 millimeter motor-to-motor frame, the bigger ESC with the X12, not ESC, the X12 AIO with bigger FETs for more because it's going to pull more power from the bigger motors. Each little thing adds 0.2 of a gram, 0.3 of a gram, 0.4 of a gram, 0.2 of a gram, 0.4 of a gram. And so you end up with something that is significantly heavier. And when you're trying to fly through this gap, turn tight, through that gap, turn tight, through that gap, turn tight, through that gap, 2 extra grams, 3 extra grams, it's a lot. Could I take this 75 millimeter rig and do things to make it lighter weight? Sure, absolutely. Could I take this 65 millimeter rig and do things to make it lighter weight? Absolutely. The Game Hat Aerial Pickle Rick race build is 15 point something grams. You will never, ever, 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 ever be able to get a 75 millimeter rig down that light that doesn't disintegrate the first time that you crash it. And so the one of the arguments that everybody always levels at me when I do some of this testing and I say that 75 millimeters are for outside and 65 is for inside is, oh, your 75 millimeter rig's too heavy. It's never going to be lighter than a comparable 65 millimeter rig. I have these two built to be very durable, and there is a 3 or so gram difference between them. If I made this one lighter weight and I made this one lighter weight, they would still be 3 grams different. If I made this one extreme lightweight and I made this one extreme lightweight, they would still be 3 grams different, right? So, yeah. The right tool for the job for stuff indoors is 0702 motors, 65 millimeter motor-to-motor frames, either 1.2-inch props or 1.4-inch props. The right tool for the job flying outside is a 75 millimeter rig, either 1S or 2S. These TreeToppers make 1S a lot more realistic. I still like 2S. Outside is really big, and having just this massive amount of extra response time and just raw power from 2S opens up flying outside, and it just it just gives you more freedom. It gives you a flight experience that's like more three-dimensional almost in a way, because you have so much more power. But if you've got a bunch of 450 mAh 1S batteries floating around, get you a set of these motors. They're very fun. I've had an absolute blast flying this thing around outside with this setup. Too much for inside, but feels really good outside. Really, really fun. This would make these motors on this rig would make an excellent jungle gym basher. Excellent, excellent, excellent jungle gym basher. It's still a little heavy for that. I really like these smaller 1.2, 1.4 inch prop rigs for jungle gym bashing, because if you think about a jungle gym, the gaps are tiny, just like in the house, right? The monkey bar gaps are this big. The you know, every single little ladder, or like if they've got one of those grid rope climb things, the gaps are this big. Tiny, tiny, tiny little gaps. And believe it or not, a 75 millimeter rig kind of feels a little big and heavy. It would do better if there's a little bit of wind, right? When you're flying outside, a lot of times you're going to have wind. So this would be a great jungle gym basher if you live somewhere that's windy. Somewhere without wind, or if you just go out on a calm day, though, oh, buddy, these are the way to go. The same things that you're used to flying inside the house where it's super tight and super frantic. Awesome for the jungle gymming. Very fun. Very fun to revisit 75 versus 65, 1.6 versus 1.4 versus 1.2. I know I've done this before, but we got some cool new stuff now. Let me get caught up on chat. Franticla says, after turning off all three, the background noise is constant, like maybe a fan. It's not following the volume of your voice. Matthew W. says, there's a pause button on the 3D printer screen itself. Oh, that's true. Well, I think the print is screwing up anyway. Can you really pause it and then switch the filament and start it again, and it won't be a mess? Now I can see the lines in this print where it stopped extruding. Yeah, nope, this is fucked. Yeah, no, that's ugly. I need this one print to be strong, and it's just not going to be strong. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop it and I'll show you. Quit the printing job, yes. So, let me show you. Oh, this one's going to be tough to get off the plate because it printed a bunch of... No, never mind. That support popped right off. Come on, buddy. Get off of there. Get off of there. Come on. There we go. That's fine. I need one of these prints to be kind of strong. So it's the same thing that happened before, but even with the higher temperature, even with it slowed down, even with spending some time trying to make sure that the dryer has as little things preventing it from spooling, you can still see there's two areas there where it just stopped extruding. And so that just makes this thing fall apart. Like if I put any force into it, it just makes it come apart. And then here's the other one. You can start to see it getting all stringy and ugly. Yeah, it was about to like go all the way bad. Hold on. This is the first time I've printed it with supports. I don't think I really need to print it with supports, but I wanted to see if maybe that would help. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a mess. It's just having a super hard time. That's annoying. But I mean, this print right here, this might just not be a print that's suited for a TPU. Neither one of these, to be honest. Neither one of these should be printed in TPU. It's just, that's all I've got. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the biggest part of it. Yeah, this guy, like if I put any actual force into it, it's probably just gonna, yeah, there it is. It just separated. Yeah, there's no adhesion between these layers. There's those two. All right. The saga continues. So yeah, I got to get PETG, and I got to print one of those arms, or I got to look at if there's any adjustment on that little wheel. I did find in the bamboo community forum somebody was talking about that screw on the side of that like lever. I don't know. Okay. Well, hey, look, now there's no background noise other than the filament dryer. There's a little fan in the filament dryer. Noise floor comes way down, yeah. And now if I turn on the noise gate, yeah, so now the gate is actually completely killing. That's interesting. Yeah, you know, this makes sense. This makes sense. When Dan helped me set up the gate, the compressor, and the limiter, the room was quiet. And so we set it up for the quiet room. When that 3D printer is running, it's too loud and the noise gate is not set up properly for it. The ratio, threshold, attack, release, output, gain are not set up properly for when the 3D printer is running. And so that's why you guys all of a sudden noticed it. Nobody has mentioned the audio in this live stream in like years since Dan helped me set it up. When we initially set it up, the gate was a little bit too aggressive, and I actually did a bunch of YouTubing and learned about ratio, threshold, attack, release, output, gain, and I figured out how to make the gate a little bit less aggressive, and then it was good. And so, like, with the room noise where it's at right now, the noise gate, the compressor, and the limiter are all on. So this probably sounds really good, as compared to now the noise gate is off. And so now if I stop talking, so that's pretty quiet. Negative 45 dB is pretty low. Headphone folks, you can probably hear that, but now watch with the noise gate. Watch what it'll do. And so it still blips a little bit. But it brings it down to pretty much nothing. And it brings it down. You see how gradually it pulls it down? That's what I usually don't like about gates. Gates are usually more aggressive, and it's like, and you can like hear it when it bottoms out to 0, and that's super annoying to me. Dave S says then it comes and goes, making the gate annoying. Frank Nicholas says the gate makes the noise come and go, and that sometimes bothers some. Gate off, noise is low and constant, doesn't bother me as much. Kelvin says compression off is better in my honest opinion, and I'm using desktop speakers. So here's compression is on right now. Now I'm turning compression off. Again, I think all of these settings were just really struggling with how much constant noise the 3D printer was making. It's got fans. It's got the they're not servos. I don't know what the hell they are that move the plate in the head. Brent Anderson says child play tunnels are a neat flying element. Indeed. Uriel says maybe. If you heat up 3D printer and also let it work, maybe your driving belt starts to be too tight, maybe. Oh, boy. Now we're getting all the way in the weeds. Dave S. says you could share the STL and see if we can print it. If we can't either, it's a design problem. I'm pretty sure it's not a design problem. It's a super popular print on a Bamboo Zone thing. And I've had this issue for a while now on taller prints that are multiple hours. I've had this issue, so I'm pretty sure it's not just this print. License to Drive said, could the clogging issue be inconsistencies in the TPU quality? Try printing with a different filament. It could be. This is Sane Smart TPU though, which like most people say is kind of the best. And I've had really good luck with it. But yeah, could totally be. I should probably swap to a different color and just see. But both of these prints I should be doing in PETG, so I'm just gonna order a roll of PETG and I'll dive into it there. Uriel says try in software, only 0.3x there for the software. When hot, it opens up, a dangerous experiment because you push extra for the nozzle. Juice says looks like under extrusion. Probably the extruder is slipping a bit. That's what it's starting to feel like it is. Could be the filament, or when I had that the extruder was dying. This thing has only printed like maybe 2 full rolls of filament, so I doubt the extruder is dying. You never know, but Frank Nicholas says noise gate back on, and the background noise volume level follows your voice volume level. Makes sense. Andrew Taylor says your usual audio settings are excellent. In this case, it's just the gate doing you dirty. I listen on headphones or studio monitors. So awesome, Andrew Taylor. Thank you for that feedback. Folks on either expensive speakers or headphones are going to really be able to tell a difference. So this has been with the compressor off. Now I'm turning the compressor back on. I wonder if you guys will be able to hear a difference. Matthew W says, yes, you can pause for a surprisingly long time. I've had filament run out. It's sat all night and I resumed the next morning. Oh my God, that's pretty cool. I didn't know about that. Soundwrecker says, what's your mod on Air 65 or Air 75 to flatten the camera a bit? I saw it once briefly. Opinions? You just run it on the rearmost hole of the canopy. I don't really have a mod to do that. The Beta FPV Air canopies do have a little bit more up tilt than most of the other ones, but it's not so much that I can't fly it. I get used to it quick enough. Uriel says that's why I bought a cheap 3D pen. I can restart small problems. That's interesting. Kelvin says no more background noise, but that was a while ago. Why are the timestamps not turned on? Come on, YouTube. That was at 9:15, 8 minutes ago. Frank says, yep, fixed and completely silent background, no sound / noise at all. That was at 9:18. Right now, noise gate, compressor, and limiter are all turned on. Here's the limiter off. The limiter and the compressor are much more subtle. The noise gate does the majority of the work. I'm super curious if you guys can tell the difference when I turned the compressor off a minute ago. Also, when I turn the limiter off, the compressor is basically gonna do its job when I'm screaming. When I get really loud and I scream, that's when the compressor is gonna. That was me barely screaming, but I have a tendency to scream quite a bit. I think the limiter helps with that too. Now limiter on. Whoa. Nope, it's about the same. Limiter back off. Juice says, I had a print running and there was a local power shortage for 5 minutes without, and afterwards my printer just confirmed the print after it asked if it should continue. Print was fine. That's cool. CMYK in the house. What's up, brother? He says, what's up? Gangly Gang and CiottiFPV. Cole Powers says, yes, join us. Join the PETG club. Kevin Sumner says, you're looking for the word stepper motor. That's it. Stepper motor. For the motors on the 3D printer. Thank you. Uriel says 2 kilo pal. You extruder, sorry. And then Dave S with the last comment of the live stream says, when you smash the webcam is when you need the compressor / limiter. Turning the limiter back on. So yeah, the next time I have the 3D printer running, it's the noise gate that I need to disable, because I know exactly what you guys are talking about, and it bothers the shit out of me too. I don't like noise gates in general. I would actually rather have a little bit of background noise and no noise gate artificially dumping it all the way down to 0. But that is an uncommon. Most people disagree with me there. Kevin Sumner says, here's your PETG, printedsolid.com. I think I'm going to go with the bamboo. I want to try the bamboo filament, and like their automatic settings are dialed for it perfectly. So I'm going to try the bamboo PETG, and then if I don't like it or something like that, or if I can't get it in like a light gray white color, then maybe I'll check this out. So this is Prusa Research, Prusament, PETG. Kevin Sumner, I think, knows quite a bit about 3D printing, so I trust him. He knows a lot about a lot of things. But yeah, I need white. But yeah, bamboo, PETG, white. So I just got to find somewhere to order it from. Oh man, you know, last time I went to do this, there were like 8,000 different types of Bamboo Lab. Yeah, see, no, come on. Search PETG. So like, what's the? I just have one. Oh, great, 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 great. It's not highlighted anywhere. Nope, it's highlighted somewhere. Nope, it's. Oh, it's all down here. Oh God, look. Oh, it's just colors. Cool. Yellow, gold, purple. Why does it change colors when I roll over it? What? What? 1.75, 1.75. Gold, yellow. Why is it changing colors like that? 1.75. Gray. Here's a nice light gray. This is probably what I'm going to do. And then down at the bottom, there's a bunch. PETG. A 10-pack for 280. Jesus, what are you printing? All right, now, there's one all the way up on the top. Here we go. Bamboo Lab PETG, and then I'm just going to get, like, white. Yellow, gold, blue, black, light. That gray is pretty cool, though. Now, we're getting white, though. We're getting white. All right. No, see, no, too many options, too many. Don't do that to me. Hopefully this one's good. This is the one. This is it. HF, what's HF? eBay, you got my back? Come on, eBay. Have my back. No. eBay does not have my back. Yes, it does. No, I don't want clear. No, have white. Somebody have white. Green? No. White! Yay! There it is. 30 bucks. Wait, no. This is my favorite thing to do on eBay. Sort distance nearest first. You want to save us from dumping more and more and more diesel fumes into the atmosphere? Buy things on eBay and buy them. The only problem with buying on eBay is you have to ship each individual item to you, which is not great. Best is actually to find a local store because they ship a million things in on one big truck. But eBay's pretty good. Man, please. Oh, we're now 1,900 miles. Oh, no, 355. What the hell? Whatever. I'll find it. I don't think I'm buying it from here. Whatever. HF is high flow, as in make print go fast. Nice. Thanks for hanging, friends. I'll see you guys Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll have some fun together. Cool. Love you. Bye. Here's what the TreeToppers do really well, which is rip around outside. If you've got an X12 that you haven't converted to 2S yet, snag a set of these motors. They are damn good, man. They really brought this rig to life for me. I've been having a blast. Love you, bye. Here's the rest of the battery from the beginning of the live stream. See ya.